What if I told you that some of the most unbelievable conspiracy theories in American history actually turned out to be true? Not rumors, not Hollywood fiction, real government operations, real secret experiments, real classified programs hidden from millions of people for decades. And the craziest part? Some Americans still refuse to believe them even after the documents were released. Tonight, you are going to hear about secret mind control projects, illegal surveillance programs, hidden military operations, and experiments so disturbing that even government officials later admitted they crossed the line. Before we dive in, I need you to do something interesting. If even one fact in this video shocks you, drop a comment saying, "They knew." I want to see how many people actually stay until the end because the final story might completely change how you look at power in America. Hello and welcome to the curious spot where deep facts and classified truths are revealed. For decades, the U.S. government has carried out operations hidden behind the words national security. And honestly, that phrase alone has probably ended more conversations than any other sentence in American history. Think about it. The moment people hear classified, most stop asking questions. But history shows something important. Sometimes the people asking questions were actually right. Take this for example. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering your government secretly tested dangerous chemicals on citizens without their knowledge. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that happened. Back in the 1950s and 60s, the CIA launched a project called MK Ultra. Officially, it was designed to study mind control and interrogation techniques during the Cold War. The fear was that enemies like the Soviet Union or China were developing methods to control human behavior. So the CIA decided to experiment first. And this is where things get disturbing. They secretly gave people LSD and other drugs without consent. Some victims were prisoners. Some were patients in hospitals. Others were ordinary citizens who had absolutely no idea they were being used as test subjects. One man walked into a bar for a normal night out. What he didn't know was that CIA-funded experiments were happening behind the scenes. Imagine drinking something and suddenly your reality completely collapses while strangers quietly observe your reactions like scientists watching a lab rat. That sounds like a movie. Except it wasn't. Years later, government investigations confirmed parts of the project were real. Documents were uncovered. Hearings happened. Officials admitted wrongdoing. Yet even today, some people still think MK Ultra is just internet fiction. But here's the creepy part nobody talks about enough. Most of the files were destroyed. Not lost. Destroyed. Which means what the public knows might only be a small fraction of what actually happened. Now ask yourself something. If one confirmed secret project sounded unbelievable before it became public, how many others never got exposed? And that question takes us into the next story. Picture America during the Cold War. Fear everywhere. Nuclear anxiety, suspicion, paranoia. The government wanted to know one thing. What would happen if the Soviet Union attacked major American cities? So officials secretly conducted radiation experiments on U.S. citizens. Yes, real people. Some hospital patients were injected with radioactive materials without fully understanding what was happening. In certain cases, families only learned the truth decades later. Imagine discovering your relative had unknowingly become part of a classified experiment. And here's where it becomes even harder to process. Many of these tests targeted vulnerable people. The poor, the sick, people who trusted institutions to protect them. Now be honest. If someone told you this years ago, you probably would have called it a wild conspiracy theory too. But declassified records later confirmed parts of these operations. And suddenly the line between crazy theory and documented history became very thin. This is exactly why so many Americans stopped blindly trusting official narratives. Not because they want drama, not because they love conspiracies, but because history gave them reasons to question things. And speaking of questioning things, let's talk about surveillance. Today, almost everyone accepts they're being watched online in some form. Your phone tracks location data, apps collect behavior patterns, websites monitor clicks. People joke about ads reading their minds because they mention shoes once and suddenly shoe ads appear everywhere. Funny. Until you realize government surveillance became far bigger than most people imagined. After the September 11th attacks, the U.S. expanded intelligence programs massively. Officials argued it was necessary to stop terrorism. Many Americans agreed because fear was everywhere. But then came Edward Snowden, a former intelligence contractor who leaked classified documents showing the scale of government data collection. And the revelations stunned the world. Phone records, internet communications, metadata collection, programs capable of monitoring huge amounts of digital activity. Suddenly people realized privacy in the modern world might be more illusion than reality. Now, here's the interesting psychological twist. If surveillance stops an attack, most people never hear about it. But if privacy disappears slowly, people notice too late. That creates the perfect debate. Security or freedom? Protection or privacy? And notice how there's never an easy answer. Because yes, people want safety. Of course they do. But they also don't want every message, search, and movement potentially sitting inside giant databases forever. This tension has existed for decades in America, and it's growing stronger with artificial intelligence, facial recognition, and predictive technology becoming more advanced every year. Which brings us to one of the strangest government secrets ever revealed: Operation Northwoods. Now this one sounds so unbelievable that even hearing it feels fake. In the early 1960s, during tensions with Cuba, U.S. military officials proposed plans involving fake attacks that could be blamed on Cuba in order to justify military action. Read that again mentally. Fake attacks. According to declassified documents, proposals included staging incidents or creating scenarios designed to influence public opinion. The plans were never carried out. That's important. But the fact they were even discussed shocked people for one major reason. It changed how many Americans viewed power behind closed doors. Because once citizens realized governments sometimes consider morally dangerous strategies during moments of fear or conflict, trust becomes complicated. And honestly, you can understand why. Imagine sitting at home watching the news, believing every major event is exactly as presented, only to later discover hidden discussions were happening in secret rooms the entire time. That realization unsettles people deeply. And here's something fascinating about human psychology. Most people don't fear secrets because of what's known. They fear secrets because of what's still unknown. That uncertainty creates endless speculation. Now let's shift to something even more personal. Have you ever heard of Tuskegee? This case remains one of the darkest moments in American medical history. For decades, hundreds of African American men with syphilis were studied by the U.S. Public Health Service. Many were not properly informed about their condition. Even after treatments became available, some participants were denied proper care so researchers could continue studying the disease. Think about how horrifying that is. People trusted doctors, trusted institutions, trusted authority, and instead of receiving help, they became part of an experiment. The consequences lasted generations. Distrust toward medical systems didn't appear from nowhere. Events like this left scars that still affect communities today. And once again, this was not speculation, not theory, not rumor. It was documented history. This is why conversations about government secrecy become so emotionally charged in America, because sometimes hidden truths caused real damage to real people. Now here's where things become even more complicated. Not every secret program is evil. That's the uncomfortable reality most internet discussions ignore. Some classified operations genuinely protected lives. During World War II, secret code-breaking operations helped defeat enemy forces. Intelligence agencies have stopped attacks the public never hears about. Military secrecy can sometimes prevent chaos. So the issue isn't simply government secrets bad. The real question is this: where is the line? How much secrecy is necessary before protection becomes control? And who decides? That debate has existed since America's founding. But today, technology makes the stakes much higher. Think about artificial intelligence. Governments now possess tools previous generations could barely imagine. Massive data analysis, facial recognition systems, cyber warfare capabilities, drones, behavioral prediction algorithms, and most people have no idea how advanced some classified technologies may already be. Remember earlier when I mentioned destroyed documents from MK Ultra? That detail matters because history shows the public usually learns about secret programs years after they happen, not during them. Which means right now, somewhere behind closed doors, projects likely exist that ordinary citizens know nothing about yet. Maybe harmless, maybe necessary, maybe dangerous. And that uncertainty alone is enough to keep people awake at night. But there's one final thing most people completely miss when discussing government secrets. The biggest danger isn't always the secret itself. Sometimes the bigger danger is public apathy. When citizens stop paying attention, asking questions, or holding institutions accountable, secrecy grows more powerful automatically. That doesn't mean believing every conspiracy theory online. Some are nonsense. Some are fabricated for clicks. Critical thinking matters. But blind trust can be just as dangerous as blind paranoia. History proves that. The truth usually lives somewhere between total denial and total fear. And maybe that's the real lesson from all these stories. MK Ultra taught Americans that intelligence agencies could cross ethical lines. The surveillance revelations showed how technology changes privacy forever. Tuskegee exposed how vulnerable people can suffer when accountability disappears. And Operation Northwoods revealed that ideas once dismissed as impossible were sometimes discussed at the highest levels of power. So when someone says, the government would never do that, history quietly answers, sometimes it did. And that realization changes the way you see the world. Because once you understand how many unbelievable secrets eventually became public, you stop viewing history as simple black and white truth. You start seeing layers, motives, fear, power, and human imperfection behind institutions that once seemed untouchable. At the beginning of this video, I told you the final story might change how you look at power in America. Not because every conspiracy theory is true, but because real history has already shown that secrecy can hide shocking realities for decades before the public finally learns the truth. And maybe the scariest part is this. Future generations might one day look back at our time and discover secrets we cannot even imagine yet. So the next time someone dismisses every uncomfortable question instantly, remember this video, remember the experiments, remember the surveillance, remember the declassified files, and remember that history has a strange habit of turning unbelievable into confirmed. If this video opened your eyes even a little, leave a like and subscribe to The Curious Spot for more deep investigations into hidden history, untold truths, and controversial stories most people never hear explained properly. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which government secret shocked you the most? Because sometimes the most unbelievable stories